go to the layer menu in Affinity Photo and go for new layer. You always need a layer in Affinity Photo. Then go over here to Elliptical Marquee tool. And I'm going to create a nice thin section. You can vary the size, make it very thin, maybe slightly wider. I'm just going to go with that, but you can vary it. As long as it's new, you can always add it again, of course, if you decide. Then go to the gradient tool, and that defaults to a white and black gradient. You can vary it if you want. You can change the colours. Just going to drag it across a linear design and holding down the shift, so it's just straight all the way up like that, and I can vary. Now I can go, I want to go for more black than white, so I'm just going to put it about there. But you can vary it. If you want less, just create it very close to the origin point, or just drag it out a bit. Up to you. But I'm going to go with that. I want that three-dimensional depth. Key thing is, it's a pixel layer. Any pixel layer can be turned into a pattern. So go to Layer and New Pattern Layer from Selection. It's a selection. So New Pattern Layer from Selection. And if you're not happy with it, just undo. Just go and undo it, because I quite often create something and I think, you know what, it's wrong. And I'm not happy with it. So now I can move that around. I can resize it. So just resize it. You can. However, you notice also you've got this one at the background. I don't want that. I'm just going to delete it, but you can just sort of deselect it. But the layer always has a tendency to come back again, and it's easier just to remove it completely. I'm not going to use it again. Now I can move this around, resize it, and I can rotate it just using these controls. You can create all kinds of designs just using this. However, what you can also do is you can hold down the Alt or Option key and duplicate it. Depends if you're on a PC or Mac on the keyboard. So just going to just drag that there and release. And you can move it around. And then you can see as you move it around, you get some very unusual designs just by moving it. Now, if the design isn't what you want, if it doesn't come out like that, that's what I want. I want that just nice, sort of gives a sort of padded look, an unusual padded look in this design. Three-dimensional padded look. However, undo again if you don't happy with it and resize it. Now you can select both and turn it into a pattern layer and work with that if you want. Now, I'm not going to do that, but you can just go down to Layer and Merge Visible. I just want the whole thing to become one layer. Now, it still keeps the old ones, always does that. Affinity Photo will always keep the old layers, which is useful because you might think, you know what, I can go back to them quickly, but I'm just going to delete them. I don't want them anymore. So I've got this design now that I'm happy with. And I could finish at this point. I mean, that's a perfectly reasonable, nice design. However, what you can also do is you can use filters. So filters and distort and deform. And I want to create a very intense sort of design, which I'm just going to create some handles. These are handles. You just can add these little pins or handles, and you can put them, just put them anywhere. After a while, you get used to how you feel that they sort of move. So you just sort of drag that, and you can push them towards that other handle there. So you've got a handle there, it squeezes them in. And you of course can pull back if you don't want that. So you can move them around, and you can do the same there. And again, you can move that one, and you can see as you do it. And if you think, you know what, I want more of that there, handle that, push that over there, and you can create all kinds of intent. And then you look at it and think, you know what, I prefer to do it over there. You can just see what sort of design you want, and something will come out of the different designs, and you think, you know what, that looks great, the way it's squeezed there. Always remember to click apply, because quite often I forget and I'm sort of thinking, that's strange, and I lose the effect. So always go back to this panel and click apply. Okay, now what I'm going to do, again, I'm going to use the good old elliptical marquee tool, and I'm going to select an area that I think looks quite interesting. I think that area there looks really great. Now you could go with this, but it's going to be a very sharp edge, which is fine. I mean, that's perfectly reasonable. But I think it's nice to actually add some little bit of feathering in as well. So I'm just going to go to select and feather. Now it's not everyone's thing, so feather and radius. Now unfortunately you can't see the effect. So it's one of those things that you're just going, oh, 148, well that sounds reasonable. 112, something like that. Just go for like 50 or 60, and you can always undo again and try it again. Do exactly the same as before. It's just as easy. It's a selection, it's a pixel layer. You can go to new pattern layer from selection. And now because you've got that, obviously that feathering, you can see the result of the feathering. It's not a sharp edge. If you had the sharp edge, I don't think it looks as good. Though you could, of course, apply blurs and other things to maybe smear it a bit. But now you can remove this other effect or just leave it. The other layer, it doesn't matter, I mean, because I'm going to cover it up. And you can see then if I hold down the Alt or Option key, again, I can duplicate that design. And I can then duplicate it again and then duplicate it again. And you can see the result of that. You get really weird, sort of unusual, I think very H.P. Lovecraftian would be the way I would describe it. Sort of unusual, sort of, yeah, I can never say the word for the Cthulhu. I'm sorry about that. I can never say that one. However, it's one of those words that you can create very odd designs very quickly using this approach with that sort of feathering and deform combined with those lines. So now with that, of course, what you can do, exactly the same as before, you can merge the whole lot. You could select them all, but you can easily just go to Layer and Merge Visible. So everything's merged into a single one again, and you can then delete it. So delete all those, and you've got your end result. Now you, of course, can colour it if you want. You can go to various layer, and you can go to a new adjustment layer and apply some adjustment to it if you want to recolour it. So obviously you might not think that grey is great as a design, but that's, hopefully you found it of interest. Thank you much.